It is difficult to imagine the Philippine educational landscape without the private schools. The private schools help the state fulfill its mandate of making quality education accessible to all Filipinos. It is in recognition of this role that the Fund for Assistance to Private Education, a permanent trust fund for private education, was established through Executive Order 156 on November 5, 1968. The Private Education Assistance Committee, or the PEAC, was created as the trustee of the fund. The PEAC is composed of the Secretary of Education as the ex officio chair and a representative each from the National Economic Development Authority, Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities, and Association of Christian Schools, Colleges, and Universities. For the development of private education, the PEAC takes on the role of funder, advocate, partner, and enabler. A national secretariat headed by an executive director executes the policies, programs, and initiatives of the PEAC for private education. In 1989, a landmark piece of legislation, RA 6728, or the Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education, or GAITF, was passed. The GAITF Act, which was amended by RA 8545 in 1998, institutionalized government assistance to private education in the country. The Educational Service Contracting, or ESC, Teacher Salary Subsidy, or TSS, Senior High School Voucher Program, the In-Service Training, or INSET, and Research are part of the Department of Education's GAITF program. The PEAC implements the GAITF program given the track record of the PEAC in program management. The PEAC has been involved in the development of the ESC, from piloting a scheme, which was a precursor to the ESC in 1982 to 1986, to implementing the ESC in 1986 to 1991, and from 1996 up to the present. The ESC today has close to 1 million beneficiaries. Part of the PEAC infrastructure for the GAITF program is the Regional Secretariat. The PEAC-RS is headed by the Regional Program Director, who designates a Regional Program Coordinator for the day-to-day program implementation in the region. The PEAC has the following responsibilities in the GAITF program: orientation, ESC certification, SHS voucher applications, processing, monitoring, resolving cases of schools with adverse findings, regular meetings and consultations with stakeholders, research and data gathering, in-service training. The PEAC is also accredited as a local continuing professional development, or CPD, provider by the Professional Regulation Commission, or PRC. Participants of the INSET programs offered by the PEAC have the opportunity to earn the required CPD units for the renewal of their professional licenses. From 2012 to 2017, the PEAC trained a total of more than 70,000 junior high school teachers, and since 2016, an estimated 17,000 SHS teachers. The PEAC also implements its own programs of assistance. The Assistance to Programs and Initiatives to Reform Education, or ASPIRE, gave funding support in the amount of 33.7 million to 99 projects of private educational associations since 2015 to 2016. The Research for School Improvement Towards Excellence has assisted 79 private school administrators and teachers writing their theses and dissertation since 2015 to 2016. The Dissemination Assistance to Research and Education, or DARE, has supported 16 faculty members who presented their papers in international conferences abroad since it was launched in 2016 to 2017. The Philippine Education Research Journal is an online resource for decision makers, policymakers, and practitioners in education. Its editorial board consists of highly respected educators and researchers. The Philippine Education Conference is an opportunity for school administrators and teachers to learn from educational leaders and experts here and abroad as they discuss educational issues, concerns, trends, and innovations. Recognizing the inherent strengths of the private schools in achieving excellence in Philippine education, the PEAC is committed to promoting private education as an integral part of our educational system.
Good day, everyone. We're back. I'm Maydi Malanta, the Training and Development Associate of the PEAC National Secretariat. Welcome again to this afternoon's webinar for TLE Home Economics on streamlining the K-12 curriculum, an approach to determining which standards and competencies to teach. This program is part of the pre-opening activities and interventions of the PEAC to assist private schools in their recovery and readiness of operations for school year 2020-2021 amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Our speaker this afternoon is a graduate of BS Food Technology from UP Los Baños, where she also took up her master's in educational management at Polytechnic University of the Philippines. She's been a TLE teacher for 18 years and a PEAC trainer and coordinator for TLE-HE, and currently the TLE ICT coordinator of Canosa School of Santa Rosa in Laguna. Their teachers, let's welcome this afternoon, Ms. Benilda C. Corpus. Ma'am Nilda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, all of you. So I will just be sharing my slides. So welcome to the teachers who are here. Thank you for being here with us. So good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon, teachers. Good afternoon, administrators. Thank you for coming. So for today, I'll be discussing with you and sharing with you some of the knowledge that I have gained from our training on the streamlining the K-12 curriculum, an approach to determining which K-12 standards and competencies to teach in TLE-HE. So before we start, let us first have some agreements. So during the webinar, I'm really encouraging you to take down notes, ask questions after the talk, and you can download the handouts right after all the webinars are already done. To maximize your viewing, please view the slide presentation of the speaker in full screen on your device to better appreciate the content. So we have been seeing this poster in the PEAC website, and we are highlighting in this series of webinar the question, how will schools now in the new normal be able to cover the K-12 curriculum? What are the steps that we need to take to complete the curriculum? So what are now our objectives? Objectives of the seminars are as follows. Discuss the rationale and parts of the DepEd MELCS curriculum guide for school year 2020-2021. Explain the process of streamlining the K-12 standards and competencies. Relate the importance of alignment in streamlining with the PEAC recertification, and apply the process to selected units of study in a subject area for curriculum mapping, identification of instructional materials, and the preparation of the unit calendar. So we have been hearing lately that the IATF has been reminding the private schools that they must have provisions for minimum standards before they can go into teaching. Okay? Definitely still no face-to-face. So in the light of the directives of the IATF, okay, the DepEd also gave us some directives. Okay? So what do private schools need to do in order to be ready for school year 2020 to 2021? Of course, they have to prepare their school. It has to be safe. There should be minimum health standards. Okay. There should also be the learning continuity plan and the school calendar for 2020 to 2021, which includes all the activities that they will be engaging in. So PEAC has also announced its requirements for recertification. As you have seen there, so schools are expected to submit the different requirements. The part 1 will be starting September 1 and part 2 will be September 30. And the curriculum map is one of the major requirements of the PEAC. Now, what do ESC participating private schools need to do in order to be ready for recertification from November 2020 to March 2021? Okay, they have to prepare the PEAC certification assessment instrument self-ratings and evidence of compliance. They also need to submit the results of the PEAC School Recovery and Readiness Assessment Tool and the PEAC School Recovery and Readiness Plan in line with the DepEd's Learning Continuity Plan. So, since the school curriculum is one of the major requirements in for DepEd and PEAC, this will be submitted to these two very important agencies. Okay, so now, how will ESC schools in school year 2020-2021 prepare the school curriculum? Okay, the learning continuity plan requires the school curriculum for the DepEd, and the curriculum map, also which is also the school's curriculum, is also required by the PEAC for recertification. So this webinar is really very, very useful and timely for those schools who are really scheduled for recertification this school year. And there's even a move that the learning continuity plan that the DepEd is requiring will already be the curriculum map that the ESC schools will be submitting as part of the remote or the recertification. Okay, so this is an example of a diary curriculum map. So those who have attended the INSET, we've been conducting INSET nationwide for 2 years now, will really be familiar with this sample diary curriculum map. As you can see, it has 9 different headings. Okay, the first column is the term, the number of month, the quarter. The second column will be for the unit topic content. The next will be the content standards, then followed by the performance standards, then the competencies and skills, assessment, activities, resources, and the institutional core values. How can ESC schools now prepare a curriculum map that covers the K-12 standards and competencies in the new normal and meets recertification requirements? So what is now the new normal? Of course, in setting now, we all know that there is social distancing, physical distancing, okay? Shortened school calendar from 40 weeks, from 40 weeks to 33 weeks, varied instruction modalities, online modules, synchronous, asynchronous, the use of LMS, limited face-to-face contact with students. We're not even sure how safe this will be. So none yet at this point. Reduced class time and frequent disruptions in case there will be outbreaks. Now, it was mentioned that the sample diary curriculum map or the curriculum of the school is very, very important. And actually, we are basing this on three very important documents. The DepEd Subject Curriculum Guide of 2016 and the DepEd MELCS Matrix, which is just recently released. And of course, the PEAC Certification Assessment Instrument. Okay? So given these conditions, we know very well that the number of days that we're going to design for this school year will really be affected. So what we're already familiar, as I've told you, these are the three sources. We're already familiar with the curriculum guide. We've been using that already for quite a number of years. But the MELCS is, or the most essential learning competency is something new for us. Okay? So let us look at the guidelines that is given by DepEd about the use of the MELCS. I quote, releasing the MELCS does not downplay the standards set by the K-12 curriculum guides. Rather, this serves as a guide to teachers as they address the instructional needs of learners while assuring that curriculum standards are maintained and achieved. So it's very clear. The MELCS will not really be replacing the curriculum guide. So there's another statement coming from the guideline in Filipino. Tandaan na ang layunin sa pagbuo ng MELCS ay hindi upang palitan ang kasalukuyang curriculum guide, kundi upang magabayan ang mga guro sa pagtukoy ng mga kompetensing mas kinakailangan ng mga mag-aaral sa taong panuruang 2020 hanggang 2021. Sa huli, hinihikayat pa rin ang mga guro na sumangguni sa curriculum guide ng Filipino kung sa tingin nilang hindi sapat ang kompetensing tinutukoy sa MELCS. So it's clear, dear teachers, okay, that the MELCS will not replace the curriculum guide, and we can still use the curriculum guide in the preparation of our curriculum map. So let us now try to look at the other very important reference for designing and drafting our curriculum map. Of course, the PEAC Certification Assessment Instrument, which we will be referring, or we must refer every now and then as we draft, as we prepare our curriculum map. So I'll be talking about that in details later. Next, so how can ESE schools prepare a curriculum map that covers the K-12 standards and competencies in the new normal and meets recertification requirements? What should schools like us do? We have to prepare a curriculum map by using the DepEd curriculum guide and or the DepEd MELCS and the PEAC certification assessment instrument. Now, let's go back now to the sample diary curriculum now, and let's examine it part by part. So we all know very well that the unit topic will be the content standards, and the performance standards will be coming from the DepEd curriculum guide. The competencies and skills will be coming from the DepEd curriculum guide and or the DepEd MELCS. And of course, these three, this will be our job. We are now the assessors, designers, and facilitators of learning. And do not forget that the summary diary curriculum map must be aligned or integrated with our school's vision and mission. Of course, there should be alignment. Okay, so you can see there are arrows. There are arrows in front of you. So these arrows mean that there is connection. There is integration. The competencies and skills are the steps that we need to take in order to achieve the content standards and the performance standards. And for every competency, there is a corresponding assessment, activity, and resource. For the institutional core value, you can have that on a per unit basis. And of course, as I've told you, the number 3 document is the PEAC Certification Assessment Instrument, and it is highlighted in its standards of compliance that a curriculum map in each subject area must be aligned with the philosophy, vision, mission, goals, and objectives of the school. Must also be aligned with the K-12 curriculum guides, standards, and competencies. There should be evident horizontal alignment between standards, competencies, assessment, instruction, resources, and the institutional core values in all units. And of course, there must be vertical learning progression based on the skill. So it's also developing from acquisition to meaning making, then to transfer. Okay? So let's take a look at now the steps that we need to follow in completing the sample diary curriculum map. Okay? So step 1, we're going to look into the content and standards that we will be focusing on. So let us try to review what the map is trying to tell us now when we talk about content and performance standards. The K-12 basic education curriculum is standards-based. And because the MELCS is lifted directly from the curriculum guide, it must be standards-based. So in the previous inset that we have been discussing, we said that the content standards are the content standards challenge us with questions, with the question what? What are now the content and skills that we want our students to know and to develop as they fulfill the requirements of the curriculum? Okay. The content standards cover a specified scope of sequential topics, identify and set the essential knowledge and understanding that must be learned. Okay, these are concepts, these are skills. How about the performance standards? The performance standards now describe the abilities and skills that the learners are expected to demonstrate in relation to the content standards. The performance standards now give meaning to the content standards. How will the students now be able to use and apply these concepts and skills? Okay. So the content and performance standards, as mentioned, are directly lifted from the curriculum guides. Its inclusion is to emphasize that the identification of MELCS is anchored on the prescribed standards. We cannot teach the competencies separately from the standards. We must always ask ourselves, what is the connection between the competency and the standards? Or are they connected? Are they aligned? We must also note that if if we need to unpack, that can also be done, okay? The MELCS may not also be complete, so we can do some unpacking. So therefore, in the last sentence in this MELC guideline, thus, teachers are encouraged to refer to the 2016 curriculum guides in unpacking the MELCs. Okay? So we go now to step 2. So the next thing that we have to do is to select the competencies and skills that will help in achieving the standards. This is the part now that we really need to think about. Where are we going to get the competencies? Either we use the MELCS matrix or the 2016 curriculum guide. If we find it easier to use the curriculum guide, then use it. If the MELCS is more appropriate, then use it. But because what is really important is that the competencies that you will be choosing will help you achieve the content and performance standards. To add from the science briefer of MELCS, these standards are further represented as learning competencies, which are the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that students need to demonstrate in every lesson or learning activity. So teachers, it's very clear. The standards or the learning competencies from the MELCS are the same as the learning competencies coming from the curriculum guide, okay? And we must assure that there's alignment of standards, competencies, and activities, meaning if I'll be talking about that later. So what are now the characteristics of essential learning competencies? So we say that essential learning competencies, it is aligned with national, state, and or local standards or framework. For TLE, we are really expected to develop responsible and productive entrepreneurs. Number 2, characteristic, it connects the content to higher concepts across content areas. Okay, there is integration. It is applicable to real life situations. We are developing 21st century skills with these essential learning competencies. There is transfer of learning. If the students left school after this grade, it will be important for them to have this competence above many others. And the 5th one, it wouldn't be expected that most students would learn this through their parents or communities if not taught in school. So let us now look at the most essential learning competencies. Allow me to read. As the department anticipate the challenges in employing the various schemes in the delivery of the learning standards due to the pandemic, the number of identified essential learning competencies per quarter were further reduced. Thus, the term most essential learning competencies. In the curriculum guide, we have essential. In the MELCS matrix, we have the most essential learning competencies. So how much was reduced? So from the 14,171 learning competencies, this was reduced by 60%. So we only now have 5,689 learning competencies, or the remaining 40%. So why? Because mainly there's going to be staggered schedules. Some of you are already planning, your proposed schedule. So there will be staggered schedules, shortened class time, very few synchronous classes. Okay, so there will not really be enough time to cover this 14,000 plus learning competencies. So now, how do we now determine the remaining 40? How are these MELCs identified? What criteria can be used? So, the MELCs now is also giving us some guidelines on this. In determining the most essential learning competencies, the department collaborated with the stakeholders from the Assessment Curriculum and Technology Research Center, or the ACTRC from UP, during which the descriptor endurance was considered the primary determining factor. A learning competency is considered enduring if it remains with the learner long after a test or study is completed, or it is useful beyond a single test or unit of study. So some examples of these learning competencies are research skills, reading comprehension, writing, map reading, hypothesis testing, which are essential in the workplace, in the many professions, and in everyday life. So if you want to read more about these articles or the book of Reeves 2002 and Manny and Horrell, you can download or you can refer to this book. Okay, so we said that those competencies have lifelong value. They are transferred in the real life situation. So how do we then identify this essential, okay, these competencies of life learning value? In the TEPSA News, there is this article prioritizing the standards using the real criteria. Okay, this is also used in determining whether a competency is power or supporting, which we will talk about later. This document featuring real can be downloaded using the link below. Okay? So what is real? R stands for readiness. Are the students ready for the next step or the next competency? Endurance. I told you about endurance already. Is it of lifelong value? Is it important in the assessment? And does it have multidiscipline value, leverage? So these are now our criteria in determining our power and supporting competencies. So those are for our competencies, and skills. Now, of course, the assessment activities and resources will be coming from the subject teachers, from us. So we've already been reiterated that we are designers, assessors, and facilitators of learning. And of course, the institutional core value will depend, no, on what is the focus of your lesson, and it will become from it will come from the philosophies, objectives, vision, and mission of your respective school. So let's go back now to the value, no, of endurance. Why is it that we need to evaluate whether that competency passes the real? Okay? Because we want to be assured that that competency exhibits endurance. It will really effect transfer of learning to real life. It is important, it is essential in the many professions, and it is really important in our day-to-day activities. Okay? So how will this endurance be facilitated in the classroom? Okay, so dear teachers, do not have this notion that when you say endurance, you will be giving your students a lot of work. They will be working long hours, ang dami. No. As I've said, and it's, excuse me, it is reiterated that it should effect transfer of learning to real life. Okay, so let's look at the certification assessment instrument and try to see what is it that it's saying about endurance or transfer of learning. Learning plans in each subject area must show a systematic and progressive development of student skills resulting in understanding and culminating in transfer of learning. So my dear teachers, in this statement, you can see that there is the three, no, the three learning goals are here. The learning goals of acquisition, meaning making, and of course, transfer. So in the learning plan, so we know very well that the learning plan will be coming from the curriculum map, okay? So they will just be transferring. So in the in the learning plan, we will see that there is, the standards are stated at the start of the plan. So what will be the content and performance standards? What are the focus competency for that particular lesson? Procedures related to acquisition, meaning making and transfer, are also there. Planned ends always with a performance task. Activities and strategies done in procedures describe students' action more than teacher actions. Less teacher talk, more student interaction. So learner-centered. And today, together with our parents, in this time of the pandemic, it is really the time that we will be designing lesson plans that are really learner-centered. Values integration with vision mission, activities and questions related to the 7 C's, the 21st century learning skills, collaboration, communication, computer literacy. So you should provide those questions, especially in your performance tasks. Activities and questions related to social issues and community events. The pandemic, in one webinar, they said that the pandemic itself is a very, very good subject. No? It's a social issue that we can really study in AP and in other social science subjects. Activities and questions connecting to other subjects. Use of multimedia and other applications to present lessons or produce student outputs. This is now what we're doing. We're really maximizing the use of the internet, the multimedia, activities that are differentiated, okay, so that we will be catering to different types of learner. Show use of multiple intelligences. Show in roles or products in the performance task. We'll try to see if this will really be possible. And activities that are differentiated or show use of multiple intelligences, but this time students choose the roles, no, or products in the performance task. Okay? So now our goal, it is clear for us that our goal, whether using MELCS, the curriculum guide, or the certification assessment instrument, we are focusing on one direction, the transfer of learning to real life. Why? Because since the transfer of learning is in real life is emphasized also in the MELCS, how do we ensure its achievement now in the curriculum design? Okay, so we focus now on the MELCS. How? So there are a lot of briefers that were given to us. So what I'm showing you now is the briefer for EE, EPP, and TLE. So what are now some of the techniques, no, that will help us in unpacking or in unpacking the MELCS. So to ensure endurance or transfer of learning by doing, allow me to emphasize any of the following, not all. So any of the following can be done with MELCS. Number one, unpack into sub-competencies or tasks. Number two, repeat in another unit or grade level. Number three, follow up in higher grade levels. Number four, cluster with other competencies. Number four is quite related with number five. Merge with other competencies, but we need to rephrase. Number six, focus on the skill rather than on the content and align with the unit performance standards. So before we go into into this 7 unpacking, allow me first to read a very important statement in guiding our teachers in using the briefer for EPP, TLE, MELCS. The identified MELCS in EPP, TLE are intended only for school year 2020-2021 to accommodate the necessary adjustments due to the shortened academic year. The curriculum was not revised, and the identified MELCS are lifted from the existing curriculum guide without enhancement or modifications. But you can see later that when we look at the MELCS, there are some slight modifications in our EPP TLE MELCS. So again, steps or techniques 1, 2, 3 and TLE are not applicable. Okay, so I will just be borrowing some of the examples from the other subjects. Okay, so number one, I borrowed this from English. Unpack MELCS into sub-competency. So as you can see, there is a major competency of employ a variety of strategies for effective interpersonal communication, interview, dialogue, and conversation. And this is broken down into several sub-competencies. Technique 2, repeat MELCS in another level for reinforcement. This is what is done in Filipino. So nagagamit ang naunang kaalaman o karanasan sa pag-unawa ng napakinggang alamat o teksto. At ito'y inulit muli sa baitang 2 hanggang sa baitang 3. For Technique 3, follow up MELCS in higher grade levels. Just like in science, there is vertical learning progression. Okay, for Technique 4, this is what we can observe that they use in TLE-HE, cluster with other competencies in Cookery grade 7 and 8. So you can see, these are now the learning competency. Select various types of chemicals for cleaning and sanitizing kitchen tools, equipment, and paraphernalia. Clean and sanitize kitchen tools and equipment following manufacturer's instructions. Use cleaning tools, equipment, and paraphernalia in accordance to standards operating procedure. Maintain kitchen tools, equipment, and work areas. So these 4 competencies are clustered into 2. So let us read. Select various types of chemicals for cleaning and sanitizing kitchen tools, equipment, and paraphernalia. Clean and sanitize kitchen tools and equipment following the manufacturer's instruction. Use cleaning tools, equipment, and paraphernalia in accordance to standard operating procedures. Maintain kitchen tools, equipment, and work areas. There's another one for ICT and Entrepreneurship grade 5. Okay? Natutukoy ang mga oportunidad na maaring mapagkakitaan sa tahanan at pamayanan, na ipapaliwanag ang kahulugan at pagkakaiba ng produkto at serbisyo. Natutukoy ang mga taong nangangailangan ng angkop na produkto at serbisyo. Natutukoy ang mga negosyong maaring pagkakitaan sa tahanan at pamayanan. Nakakapagbenta ng natatanging paninda. So 5 competencies clustered into 3 na ipapaliwanag ang kahulugan at pagkakaiba ng produkto at serbisyo. Natutukoy ang mga taong nangangailangan ng angkop na produkto at serbisyo, nakakapagbenta ng natatanging paninda. So for Technique 5, still none for TLE-EPP. So we'll be borrowing from AP. Merge with other competencies. So nauunawaan ang konsepto ng komunidad, nasasabi ang payak na kahulugan ng komunidad, nasasabi ang mga halimbawa ng komunidad. These are merge and rephrase, and it is now na ipapaliwanag ang konsepto ng komunidad. So we go now to technique number 6. We have a lot of this. Focus on skill rather than the content. So as you can see, select tools, select and use farm tools and equipment, identify farm tools and equipment. Okay. For EPP4, NTREP, and ICT, our content standard is na ipapakita ang kaalaman at kasanayan sa paggamit ng email. And here are now the different competencies or the different skills competencies. Okay, so now let's go to technique 7. Align with the unit performance standard. For our discussion this afternoon, we'll be focusing on the curriculum guide of fish food processing. And this came from that curriculum guide of 2016. So the performance standard says that the learner independently demonstrates common competencies in food, fish processing as prescribed by the Test Training Regulation. Okay, and the arrow is pointing out to the verb explore. So we'll exploring on opportunities for food, fish processing as a career help us demonstrate common competencies in food, fish processing? Are they aligned? Or are there other things that need to be done? Do we need to add other competencies? So let's see. Will this alignment lead to endurance or transfer? Will it? Will it lead to endurance or transfer? Okay. So, given these gaps, because this will not really lead us, no, to the attainment of this performance standards, how do we now align standards and competencies to ensure transfer to real life or endurance for lifelong learning? What process can be done? So look at this, teachers. What do you see? Yes, correct. This is a body of water. Yes, it's very calm. It's moving in one direction. Do you see lines? Yes, there are lines. Because it's so calm, there are lines. So this does not occur in the natural world, but engineers can do this. These are what we call streamlines. So a streamline is a path traced by a massless particle moving with the flow. Flow follows a particular direction. So there is what we call the laminar flow. In the laminar flow, the fluid particles follow a smooth path in layers or laminae, with each layer moving parallel to each other without mixing. It has visible stream lines. Whereas now the turbulent flow, the fluid particles move in a rapid path, and there are cross currents, mixing of layers, has swirling zones. Water turns back, overlaps right on another layer, causing waves. So can this happen in our curriculum guide? Are there instances where there are laminar flow? And are there instances where there are turbulent flow? Let's see. So for the next slide, I borrowed the curriculum guide from English. Do you see the turbulent flow? In the English curriculum, there are no specific beginning or ending point. You can start anywhere. So you can have the content standard, you can have writing, you can have literature. So there is really a turbulent flow. So look at this next example. So do you see a laminar flow? This is now the diary curriculum map. So as you can see, the content, performance, competencies, assessment, activities, resources, and institutional core values are aligned. They are even numbered. So, streamlining is not simply reducing the competencies. Okay? So, even if there is a limited time, it's not really just reducing competencies. It is establishing alignment between standards, competencies, assessment, activities, and resources. Streamlining refers to a smooth flow in the process of learning. We do not want the learning of the students to be turbulent. Okay, so what are now the benefits of streamlining? Of course, it is, since everything is clarified, no, from the standards, so there is the clarity of process. And since we did the designing of our curriculum map well, then there is efficiency in teaching. And since it is standards based and we focus on the verbs, it is focused on the skill. And the skills are scaffolded, coming from the acquisition, from the meaning making up to the transfer of learning. And of course, because there is a transfer of our performance task, there is evidence of learning. So let us look at now the PEAC certification assessment instrument again, no? Just for us to emphasize alignment. Okay, so the certification is telling us that in its standards of compliance, we have to design curriculum map that are aligned with the philosophy, vision, mission, and goals of the school, with the K-12 curriculum guide standards and competencies, and there should be horizontal alignment. If you say identify, so the activity should also, or the assessment and activities have to be identified also. It must develop that competency of identification. And of course, for vertical learning progression, again, skills are developmental and scaffolding. So let's go back now to the previous slide that I showed you on the curriculum guide of fish processing. Is this laminar or turbulent? I know that you're answering turbulent. Okay, so streamlining or in the reduction of our competencies, we will be applying two techniques. First is technique A, aligning content standards and competencies with the performance standards, which the technique B is the continuation, identifying power and supporting competencies and clustering them. So if there's already alignment and content standard between the content standard, if there's already an alignment between the content and content standard and competencies with the performance standards, there's really no need for you to go to technique B. So how do we move now from turbulent to laminar? Okay? So let's do now technique A. So let us look at now the guidelines from the MELCS. Again, to assure alignment with the performance standard, we have to make sure that our competency has endurance. Okay, it is important in the different professions, in everyday life, in the workplace. Okay, so competency really must have this. It is necessary, and it must be of lifelong value. Okay, so in step or in technique 1, we will be using this diagram, or in technique A rather. In aligning content standards and competency with the performance standard, we will be using this. So to some of you have already attended the inset, so this is already something that you know. But for those who have not yet attended, so this try to observe what is at the top, no, the yellow box. What are on the black boxes? Yes, you can see transfer at the top. Then you have the transfer goal, the performance tasks. Okay, then they're pointing towards the performance standard. Okay, then the acquisition and meaning making. Okay, what are they pointing at also? Okay, still in the performance standard. Okay, so let's have the techniques. Now in technique A, we follow the different steps. Okay, so we have these 7 steps, which I'll be discussing one by one. Okay, so let's have step 1. copy the content standards and performance standards and write the unit topic. So where are we going to copy that? In the diagram that I previously showed you. So it's already there. Okay. Demonstrate common competencies in food fish processing and demonstrates understanding of the basic concepts and underlying theories in food fish processing. So we go now to step 2. What's step 2? Unpack the transfer goal and performance task from the performance standards, then write in the diagram. So our chosen performance standard is demonstrate common competencies in food fish processing. So in our subject, we are really in using or we it is about a lot of processes, no? So in unpacking the transfer goal, we'll be thinking of a goal that will really help the students develop these common competencies. So what are these common competencies? Measurements, weighing, even the using of tools, hygiene and sanitation, okay? The different ingredients. So do you think that a plan, a useful plan, will really help in answering that common competencies in food fish processing? I think so. So our transfer goal now is the students on their own and in the long run will be able to formulate useful, useful plans for possible food processing venture. And allow me to read also the performance tests. According to the report issued by the Association of Packaging and Processing Technologies, there is a global consumer trend towards healthier foods. This has caused food processors to continually reformulate their products to meet the demand for healthier products, thus remove unsafe ingredients. You are a group of young entrepreneurs who would like to venture into food processing business. You will have to formulate plans that will guide you in putting up the said business. You will present initial plans to prospective investors. Your plans will be evaluated based on content, creativity, and feasibility. So this will be transferred now. This will be transferred now to your diagram. Okay, so we go to the other information now that are needed to fill up this diagram. So we go to step 3. Okay, so in the grade 7-8 food fish processing curriculum guide, we have 52 competencies. And step 3 tells us that we need to review the DepEd curriculum guide or the school curriculum map and take out competencies that are not directly aligned with the performance standards. These competencies may have been taught or may be taught in another grade or unit. So try to look at it now. So there are competencies that will not really help directly our students in achieving the performance standard. Okay, determine the profile, the PECs, determine the profile potential of competitors, apply procedures in switching, doing or generate business potential idea, generate a potential business idea using SWOT, okay, perform minor preventive machine, so on and so forth. So you will be removing that already because these are not really aligned, no? These are not really aligned with, these are not directly, I should say, these are not directly aligned with the performance standard. Okay? So after that, we will now be going to step 3. Before we go into step 3, this chart is a very useful chart in determining the verbs in the AMT learning goals. Okay, the acquisition, making meaning, and transfer. Just in case you have some confusion, which verb is for transfer, which verb is for meaning making, and which verb is for acquisition. Okay, so step 4 now is we will now be classifying the remaining unit competencies in terms of the AMP learning goals. The acquisition and meaning making are matched with the content standards, and the transfer with the performance standard, and unpack when needed. Do not forget that. We can unpack when needed. Okay, so explain basic concepts in food, fish processing, identify, that's meaning making, because you will be requiring constructed response essay, from your students. So that's meaning making. Identify the different products, services available in the market. So since it's just identify, it's acquisition. So again, explain, summarizes, sum up recorded weights and measurements of processed products. That's still acquisition. Explain the importance of good grooming in a workplace. It's very timely, di ba, my dear teachers? Because of the pandemic, no? Good grooming, safety in the workplace. So let's go to the other one, okay? Explain the importance of implementing the hazards assessment, critical control points, okay? Then explain environmental hazards. Okay. I've added here, describe ingredients and measuring devices specifically used in food processing. So the transfer competencies will be given later. I just want to show this to you. What I did is I counted, because there should be a balance in this acquisition, meaning making, and transfer learning goals. They should be balanced so that we're sure that our transfer task or our performance task is really supported by the different competencies. Okay, so this is now the competencies for the transfer task. Follow procedure in reporting defective tools, equipment, utensils, and instruments. Observe practices in manufacturing good food. Develop a plan and monitor corrective actions on environmental protection. Plan ways in managing and utilizing resources in the environment. Suggest ways to avoid wastage. Formulate food production plan. So, we go now to step 5. We will now unpack the essential understanding and the essential question from the meaning-making cluster of competencies. We have to establish link with the content standard and the performance standard. This is being discussed in depth in the inset. So to some of you who have attended already, I think you have ideas on how do we unpack the essential understanding or the enduring understanding and the essential question. So I will just be reading our enduring understanding for this particular lesson. The students will understand that effective planning for food production is determined by standard procedures. And what are these standard procedures? Accurate basic computation of measurement, systematic record keeping, cost production, and effective use of tools. And now for step 6, so we'll be writing it there in the box for the EQ and the EU. For step 6 now, we're going to cluster the A competencies and establish link with content standards and performance standards. So this is now in the box above the learning goal of acquisition. All learning competencies related to our transfer task, okay, will all be considered here. Okay. So now, step 7, meaning assessments for acquisition and for meaning making. Okay, for assessments, which is our quarterly assessment, we have the parts of the production plan. Okay, and for the assessment of our meaning making, we have assessment for understanding. Okay, so is this laminar or turbulent? Do we have laminar or turbulent flow? I'm sure you will be you're answering now that it's a laminar flow. Let's compare to this one. Is it laminar or turbulent? So we go now to technique B. Technique B is about identifying power and supporting competencies and clustering these. Okay, so what are now power standards or competencies? These are essential standards for the students to master. These are the most critical outcomes of their learning experience. Power standards are key learnings that will promote higher order of thinking skills. Okay, they really develop higher level of learning. There is a prioritization of the academic standards, and this provides purpose or reason for learning a specific competency. Let me show you this analogy. So the fence post holes are your power competencies. These are very much needed for your fence to be sturdy, for it to stand. Because the power competencies are curricular competencies that directly achieve the performance standard and pass all real criteria: readiness, endurance, assessment, and leverage. Okay? And our supporting competencies are our fence rails, as you can see. The supporting competencies are curricular competencies which contribute to or serve as steps to the attainment of the power competency, as you can see also. And we can also see that there seems to be a ladder. There seems to be a ladder that if you're going step by step as you complete the different power and supporting competencies. So let us look at now this another example, which is a power competency and a supporting competency. Try to read. Identify types of modules. Explain structure of effective persuasive text. Use graphic organizers. Find the main idea. These are the 5 major subjects because the power and supporting competencies are already being discussed in the advance. Okay, so do you have an answer now? Correct. So these are now the power competencies because they pass the real criteria. So how do we go now with the steps of identifying power and supporting competencies? Okay. So how can identification and clustering of power and supporting competencies be done for streamlining the curriculum? So we do the following steps. First, we identify the power and supporting competencies using real from core competencies, from the core set of competencies. Make clusters of power and supporting competencies. Sequence these clusters with the last related to the performance task. Of course, that is our ultimate goal. And set budget of time for teaching the clusters. Okay, so as mentioned, we identify the power, the unit power, and supporting competencies. But before we do that, let's try to discuss first this criteria. What is this? What is this readiness? Endurance, at least you have an idea already. What is this of assessment importance and leverage? Okay? A competency is of value in readiness, in the criterion of readiness, when the competency represents learning that is essential for success in a new unit. The course of study or succeeding grade level, it has readiness. The students now are ready. So the question now is, does this standard contain prerequisite content and or skills necessary for the next unit, course of study, or grade level? Look at this example. Record weights and measurements of raw materials and ingredients. Is it needed? I think so. Now for endurance, when the competency represents learning that goes beyond one course or grade level and is representative of a concept or skill that is important in life. We've been talking about that. It has endurance. So does this standard have value beyond one single test a day? Would the standards endure beyond the test? Observe, okay, our example of the learning competency is observe practices in manufacturing good food. Now for assessment. When the competency is often tested in an achievement or admission exam or for a job, it has a value of assessment. So I included tester here now, especially for those students who would want to have national certification in the different test courses. Okay, does this competency prepare the learners for national or international assessment? Follow the standards procedure in computing for production costs. So let's go now with leverage. When the competency represents learning that is applied both within the content area and in other areas, it has leverage. Okay? This standard have multidisciplinary connection. Is this standard relevant in other disciplines? Explain the importance of implementing the hazard analysis critical control points. Okay? That's for leverage. Now, let's try to see if a graphic organizer that we'll be using in evaluating our competencies with the real criteria. Okay? So you will be putting here, listing down all the competencies that are important in the ones that are we identified already a while ago. So is it needed, or is it really important for to prepare the students to be ready? Important for assessment. Neither does it have multidisciplinary importance. So in identifying this, you have to be with your teachers in the department because this will really depend on your priorities as a department. So what I'm just showing you is really an example, and this is also aligned with the performance task that I'm that I'm also sharing with you. So this may change. It depends really on how you will be determining which is the power and the supporting. But just don't forget the real criteria. Okay, there record weights and measurements of raw materials and ingredients, power, summarize some up recorded weights and measurements. These are supporting, okay, so on and so forth. So there, record calculated data according to enterprise requirements. Explain the importance of good grooming in a workplace. That's a power. Okay. So follow procedures in reporting defective tools. Okay. Follow steps in cleaning and sanitizing tools, equipment, instruments, and tools before storing. That's a power competency. Okay, so on. Observe practices in manufacturing good food. Formulate a food production plan. So it's power. So after that you have already determined which are the power competencies, which are the supporting competencies, you're now ready to cluster and budget of time to prepare the budget of time of unit power and supporting competencies. So this is now the graphic organizer or the table that you can use. You will be listing them there, the different competencies, the power competencies, and the supporting competencies. And you will be the one also as the curriculum designer, the designer of learning, to put there the days, but because it's really up to you. You know very well that how many days are you going to teach this. But for our purpose now, we're considering 40 days. 40 days for 8 weeks now for quarter one. There, interpret a food processing procedure, explain the meaning of signs and symbols used and layouting plan for fish food, for fish processing activity. Okay. So record weights, then again, list down all the supporting competencies. Observe practices in manufacturing good food. Explain the importance of implementing the hazard analysis critical control points. So you will be doing that in 4 days. Formulate the food production plan. Okay, so I placed there 5 days. Okay, so after that, let's try to see. So remember, in the first activity a while ago, we eliminated those competencies that are not really directly aligned. So we have now 31. And these 31 were the ones that we use for in the determining of the power and supporting competencies. Okay, so now we have 31 core competencies for 8 weeks. But is this now laminar or turbulent? Of course, it's laminar. Okay, now let's try to see this. Okay, can we still reduce? Can we follow the procedure in the MELCS? Can we still reduce? Of course, we can follow the procedure of or the technique of merging and rephrasing. So as you can see here in the sample here, I have merged and rephrase the competencies to simplify, to reduce. Okay? So see, while I am reducing, I am still considering the performance standard and the performance task. I am not just simply reducing. Okay? So there's another one. Compute for percentage equivalent of actual spoilage and rejects. Calculate the percentage of actual yields and recoveries according to enterprise requirements. And I rephrase that into compute the percentage of actual yields and recoveries. Okay, there. So I merge. Okay, I merge the two. Explain environmental hazards and discuss how so it should be 2 and 3. Discuss how environmental risk hazards and incidents can be prevented and controlled. And this is now merge and rephrase into explain environmental hazards and discuss how this can be prevented and controlled. So see, from 31, I further reduced the competencies. I merged and still reduced into 26. See, without really removing or undermining its importance to the attainment of the standards. Okay, so next. So you're now ready to, so you will be now clustering this, no? So there's a note here. So for grade 7 and 8 fish processing, the 26 competencies will be for 8 weeks. So this is just an example. The clusters may be adjusted depending on your term schedule. So do we now see laminar or turbulent flow? Okay, so now we come to the most challenging part for the teachers. As assessor, designer, and facilitator of learning. This is now our part. So I have here now an example. Okay, so there is mapping of assessment and activities with the unit power and supporting competencies. So I just place them in a table wherein there is already corresponding assessment, instructional activities, and institutional core values. Okay, try to look at now the examples. So for describe the processes, ingredients, and tools needed in food processing, my assessment is essay. I got from the LM, the food processing LM of 2019, in page 22, the recipe analysis, and also for the competencies about tools in selecting, use, and sanitizing tools, I got also a sample, no, an activity from the graph from the LM. So I'll go back to that. I just want to show you this. So you see, the LM is a very useful tool that you can use because it has provisions both for offline and online activities. Okay, so there are functional links there that you can click if you're going online. There's another one, okay, about conversion. Okay, so about costing. Okay, so in a production plan, you know very well that we have to develop also costing. Okay, so let's go back here. So please try to notice, okay, try to observe how I design the assessment and the activities. The reason why I did this is because we know this is now really home economics is really done now at home. Okay? So the competencies, pananahi, agriculture, cooking, baking, food processing, these are now at home. So we try now to contextualize what are now the materials already present at home? Okay, wag na natin pong pahirapan yung mga parents. Okay, nasira yung damit, no? Natastas. So, tinahi ng bata sa tamang paraan ng pananahimik. That is already a transfer of learning. And just as long as siya ang gumawa nun, di ba? So, nagluto ng meat, no, meat. Nandun siya. Tinitingnan niya muna si nanay. Maya-maya, he or she recorded. Of course, these are all scaffolded, my dear teachers. So first, let's say I place here online demonstration of the proper use of equipment. So they can, via the different platforms, okay, they can demonstrate online, or they can record whatever they are, whatever is the task. But please be reminded that this should not be uploaded in the social media. This could be sent in the LMS, or maybe in the email, just for protection and also for privacy. Okay, so I also place there narrative report or interview of parents. This can really be done, for parents for us to interview them. Ano na po yung natutunan ng ating mga anak sa TLE-HE in mechanical drafting. So they cannot really measure the school's building. What they can do is measure their houses. Look at the windows. Do they like it? Is it functional? Or if it's not really according, or it does not meet the standards that they want, how can they improve it? Okay, so that is something that that we can do. Contextualize, home-based, gardening. So they can use now to intensify the use of recycled materials. Hindi na sila bibili ng tela. Yun lang kanilang unan, punda ng unan. Their the kumot, the sheets, the curtains, this can already be used again, in just as long as the students are the ones doing it. That for me is transfer of learning. And I know some of you will agree with that. Okay? So now, no, as you can see, there are our subject, no, ang dami-dami there are a lot of products that are produced because of cookery. So this is now the time that we really allow students to go discovery learning. Of course, with proper guidance, especially the elementary. Okay, so kasi syempre po, we must also consider that parents are working, so we must consider that that context also. What I'm just trying to trying to drive at is that all the materials that we will be needing to develop our competencies are inside the homes of our students. We just need to ask, ano bang meron dyan? What are during your synchronous classes, ano bang mga meron dyan? Okay? So now, you're now ready to, it's now in the diary curriculum map. You transfer it already. And again, there is alignment. Okay? There is alignment of the content and performance standards with the competencies, with the skills, assessment, activities, and the institutional core values. Take note of the number A.A1, A2, A1 for competencies assessment, okay, and there is vertical alignment, okay, and there is There is horizontal alignment and there is vertical alignment. There is increasing difficulty in the competencies, in the verbs, in the action words. Okay? So, is it possible to teach TLE, EPP in the home? Very, very possible. The materials are just there. We just have to look. We have to really be, and they're there, and the parents will be happy because we are not buying anymore. They will not be buying anymore. They're there. Mangoes are they are in season now. So what preservation technique can be used for mangoes? So this is, diba, that's how you do it. That's how you design your activities. Real life. Okay, so let's now go back to the PEAC certification assessment instrument. So have we satisfied alignment if we followed that? If we followed streamlining? Yes. We can see that there is horizontal and vertical alignment. There's alignment with the philosophy, vision, mission, and goals and objectives. There's alignment with the curriculum guides, standards, and competencies. There is horizontal alignment between standards, competencies, assessment, instructions, resources, and the institutional core values. There is vertical alignment through vertical learning progression, focusing on the skills. So now we're ready to do calendaring. So it is very helpful for us that we calendar our activities per unit or per quarter. So notice now how we did this, okay? So the the competencies are there, the modalities are there, offline or offline. What are you going to use? Okay, so we can see there that there is laminar flow. Okay, everything is related, everything is connected. Okay, so we can see that once the curriculum map is done properly, teaching will really be organized and the students will now be successful. So remember, all that are written in the curriculum map will now be transferred to the learning plan. Hindi magkaiba. They are the same. You will just be lifting the activities, the standards, the competencies, and transferring it to your learning plan. Okay, so in summary, the task that is really confronting us, all of us today, is the preparation of the curriculum map, especially for e-recertification. And again, we need 3 sources: the DepEd subject area curriculum guide, the DepEd MELCS matrix, and the PEAC e-recertification assessment instrument. And take note of this, recertification requires alignment in the curriculum now. So we've been telling this over and over again. So whatever is required in the competency, it should be identify, identify, identify. So of course you can play around with it, but the end point will really for the students to learn how to identify certain concepts, okay? And of course, our goal, more than filling up this curriculum map, is our end goal is really to teach enduring skills for work and life in the 21st century. Endurance. So, how do we ensure now that endurance or transfer of learning can be done? Okay, so please, again, I want to reiterate that you will only be doing what is needed. You will not be doing all. For us, that's what is applicable for us will be technique 4, technique 6, and technique 7. So again, allow me to repeat: unpack into sub-competencies or tasks, repeat in another unit or grade level, follow up in higher grade levels, cluster with other competencies to simplify, to shorten, merge with other competencies and rephrase, focus on the skill rather than on the content, because we are skill-based subjects, and aligned with the unit performance standard. Okay, that is how we unpack the MELCS. So how do we now unpack? Using streamlining. Okay, we use technique A, aligning content and standards and competency with performance standard. Okay, so what are now the steps? Copy the content and performance standard and write the unique topic. Unpack the transfer goal and performance task from performance standard. Then write in the diagram. Review depth at curriculum guide or the school curriculum map, because you might have already existing. So just review it and enhance it. Take out the competencies that are not directly aligned with the performance standards. These competencies may have already been taught or may be taught in another grade or unit. Classify the remaining unit competencies in terms of AMT learning goals. Acquisition and meaning-making learning goals will be related to the content standard, and the transfer competencies will be related and connected with the performance standards. Unpack when needed. If you need additional competencies, then go, because really there are some competencies that are not present in the current curriculum guide. Okay, unpack the essential question and the enduring understanding, and with the meaning-making cluster of competencies, establish link with content, standard, and performance standard. Clustered acquisition competencies and establish link with content, standard, and performance standard. And step number 7, determine assessment for acquisition, which is usually a quarterly assessment type, and meaning making for the written work type. And we're almost done. For technique B, identifying power and supporting competencies and clustering this. How can we now identify and cluster the power and supporting competencies? For how can clustering the power and supporting competencies be done for streamlining the curriculum? So we need to do the following steps. Identify power and supporting competencies using the real readiness, endurance, assessment, and leverage from core set of competencies. Make clusters of power and supporting competencies. Sequence clusters with the last related to the performance task, and set the budget of time for teaching the clusters. So, is it easy? Will it be easy? Of course it's not. But I'm telling you, it will surely be worth it. So as Jack Ma is reminding us, never give up. Today is hard. Tomorrow will be worse. But the day after tomorrow will be sunshine. So, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Again, Ms. Binilda, for your sharing. Now we just have a few questions. Paano daw po kung may activities like baking or cooking, considering that they are at home? Taking videos while doing it at home is considerable, but can you suggest more assessments for this?
Well, actually, what I can say is that at this point, no, these are activities that we need to, because we're already in the home context, no? So we need to be a little bit, I'm not saying that we need to be a little lax, no, but we need to also be more considerate of our parents, of our parents, of our students. So there are a lot of videos available, no, in YouTube that they can really refer to. So of course, as I've been telling you, baking for graders is not really recommended because especially if the parents are not there. But for higher levels, let's say third year or fourth year or grade 9 and grade 10, if you're offering it to them, ang pakiusap ko lang, it's still have to be guided. It really has to be guided. The teachers are still there, okay? The teachers are there because if not, this is really, di ba, we have safety protocols, especially if we're doing this in the school. Yon, kasi baka mamaya magkasunog, di ba? So, if they can, malalaman naman po natin yon bilang teachers, di ba? We are scaffolding activities. Meron tayo diyang mga iba't ibang activities. So, pwedeng una muna mag-measure sila. Di ba? So, measure the ingredients. So, makikita mo yon. Tapos, pwede mo rin silang turuan magbukas ng kalan. Bakit? Sa pamamagitan siguro ng kanilang mga kasama sa bahay. Basta ang isa lang sigurong, or isang dapat lang nating tandaan, mas isaalang-alang natin yung kaligtasan ng ating mga estudyante. Because this is just temporary. Kung meron ng mga competency na hindi nila makuha ngayon, pwede naman natin yan ituro next, no? I don't want to undermine the importance of the competency. But if this competency will endanger already the lives of the students, I think it should not be done at all.
Okay. In connection to cookery, ma'am, how can we taste daw or test the product of our students kung modular ang gagamitin, especially now that cookery will be online?
Okay, that's a very good question. But you know, our standards of masarap, pare-pareho naman tayo dyan. Di ba? So, kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na honor code with parents eh. Di ba? Yung honor codes, kausapin natin yung parents or yung... Kasi syempre, this is learning. Hindi naman natin may expect na ang mga bata magaling na agad. Di ba minsan nga tayo din pumapalpak. So, sabihin natin sa kanila, in the online conversations, in the interview, ate, okay na ba? Saan ba siya dapat mag-improve? Kasi pareho lang tayo, kaya nga nagkiklik ngayon ang ube pandesal. That's my very classic example because our standards of what is delicious is just the same. So pag masarap kay ate, yung kasama sa bahay, trust mo si ate na masarap yun. So kung hindi siya masarap, sasabihin sa'yo ni ate, paano mo ngayon matutulungan yung bata to improve his or her skills?
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Ayan, malinaw na po siguro yun sa ating question sender. Last question na lang po, ma'am. Wala daw pong MELCS. Ang Cookery 9 and 10, Food and Beverage Services and Housekeeping daw po. Ano po daw ang pwede nilang gawin? Mayroon din po, ganito din pong tanong sa iba pang subjects ng TLE.
Remember, di ba in-emphasize natin, the MELCS is just temporary. So anong gagamitin mo? You go back to the curriculum guide. You just do the process of streamlining. You just do it, di ba? I demonstrated a while ago. You do streamlining. Para kasi ang dami. Ako, nagsimula ako ng 52. Naging 31. Then, I, again, rephrase. So, tapos ako sa 26. Kung wala kang MELCS, di ba? I reiterated. You have to use the existing curriculum guide.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Dagdag din po siguro dun sa binanggit nyo kanina ng mga sagot, no? Makakatulong din siguro yung pagtuturo natin through videos, yung dinedemo ng teachers, no? Kung paano ginagawa ang mga gawain, lalong-lalo na po sa TLE-HE.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Yes. So wala na po tayong panahon na natitira. Again, Ms. Benilda, thank you very much. Do you have words for our viewers?
Okay, so thank you very much to those who have watched me today. This is my baptism of fire. So thank you very much to all. So can I thank some people, Miss May? Okay, yes. First, I would like I would like to thank Doc Mike Rapatan for really not giving up on me, for guiding me, for bearing with all my weaknesses. Doc, maraming salamat po. So I would like also to thank Miss May, Miss Pressy, and Sir Terence for all the technical assistance. I want to thank also the PEAC co-trainers, no, for boosting my morale. Natatakot ako pero salamat po. My HE co-trainers, teammates, nagawa na natin. My Canosa School family, salamat po sa lahat ng mga co-teachers ko, sa mga administrators na tumulong sa akin at na naniwala na kaya ko to. Of course, for my family po, sa anak ko at sa asawa ko na kahit wala na akong magawa sa bahay, salamat dahil tinulungan pa rin nila ako na matapos ito. Sa pamilya ko, sa nanay ko, sa tatay ko, at higit sa lahat sa Diyos. At sa PEAC, para po sa oportunidad, alam kong hindi ako magkakaroon ng oportunidad na ganito kung hindi sa inyo. Marami pong salamat at sana natulungan ko po kayo sa aking mga sharing. Okay.
Maraming salamat po ulit, Ms. Benilda, for sharing us your expertise. And of course, thank you to all our viewers. We hope that you have learned something valuable from this webinar. Allow us also to thank the people behind this webinar, our Executive Director, Ms. Doris Ferrer, our TD Officer, Ms. Pressy Labao, our IT and Data Privacy Officer, Mr. Butchie Barola, our Junior High School Consultant, Dr. Mike Rapatan, our IT staff, Sirs Ryan and Terence, and our TDU staff, Sirs Chris, Dondon, and Ma'am Lani, who have been looking at all your questions and comments. And of course, to the PEAC National Secretariat. Again, our viewers, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.
Leave na ako, ma'am.